Previously on the Malazan Vlogs. Now Stonies and Gruntle are flirting with each other again and not bowing to any gods. What will this dynamic duo, Stony Menacus and Gruntle, the caravan master, what will they do now? Good morning. It is 10:30. Beautiful people. And the time has come again for me to attempt to give you a cognitive rundown of the chapters I've read so far. Not that being cognitive is in my repertoire, but we'll give it a go. Here we go. Chapter 19, we have seen Silver Fox and Croupe marching on. Croupe is now a little bit dubious of Silver Fox, that she's not doing the right thing by the Tilani Mas and the Tilani. And continuing from that, we then go to where Anamanda Rake is. And Whiskey Jack, One Arm, the rest of the clan. Can't remember who else is there, but the rest of the clan are there. So they are about to face off with the Panion, Anasta and the Tenniscaura, which are left. At this point, Whiskey Jack and Dujek, One Arm, want to have some sort of discussion to see if they can save the Tenniscaura and possibly Anasta, because they know they're not entirely the ones responsible or behind all this. However, Rake shows up using his Warren, the dragon, and just begins taking everybody out. He just destroys literally all the Tenniscaura, turning them into just rags of clothes. He goes to grab Anasta, who basically holds his arms out like this to be taken, but the touch of Anasta to Anamanda is poisonous. So he drops him, and then he lands back down to earth in his natural form, and the witches, the women of the dead seed, begin to stand up again, having been hit by the dragon's warren, which is the Curled Gallon, I think it's called. Did I write it down? Yeah, the Curled Gallane. Curled Gallane. So the dragon, aka Anamanda Rake, is using the Warren, the Curled Gallane, to take out all the Tenniscaura. Thinks he's taken out the women of the dead seed. Hasn't, because they're kind of like witches. They're standing back up. So he transfigures back into his human or Anamanda Rake form and uses dragon purr to start killing these women. So Whiskey Jack, because he doesn't want this to happen, dashes over there, gallops over there on his horse, stands in between Anamanda Rake and the women. But Anamanda Rake is trying to save Whiskey Jack from this, whereas Whiskey Jack is trying to save them from being in the sword and just basically from being killed. This is not turning out well for anybody, really. So Anamanda Rake kind of gives Whiskey Jack this ultimatum of like, it's not really an ultimatum. He says he understands that for him to do it, they'll be locked in the sword, and that in itself is a prison. So Whiskey Jack then starts killing the women. But this wasn't what Whiskey Jack wanted to do. Whiskey Jack wanted to try and save them. But this has all been part of a long foreseen plan with Lysine. But Whiskey Jack does it. He kills the women, and then the Tistandi take Anasta prisoner. So it's all gone a bit wrong. And now Whiskey Jack is scared that there's going to be no return for him. There's going to be no comeback from this. He made his pledge with Lysine, or through someone to Lysine, and so did One Arm, that they would see that the Tenniscaura and as many as they could save would be saved. And that's not turned out the case. So Whiskey Jack isn't really seeing any way for himself to be saved. The fact still remains, Whiskey Jack could not bring himself to imprison anybody in Anamanda Rake's sword in Dragnapur. So that's the decision he made, and now he's got to face the consequences, whatever they may be. But why kill them at all? You know, why? Maybe there would have been no compromise. But now we'll never know. Whiskey Jack He's also done with war. He's spent with it. He wants no more of it. So now we go back to Anasta, and we're questioning him and what the deal is. They talk about his mum, and he's not really bothered. He says you've basically given her a mercy because she was insane, a prisoner of herself, possessed by her own demons. And then he also makes the comment of, you become what you destroy. I suppose you do in a way, because you hold the grief, so you do become what you destroy. Then Anasta spots Ictovian, and fears him, that he will take his soul. He says, I fear that he's going to take my soul. I mean, don't think he takes soul, he takes grief, doesn't he? But Anasta clearly fears Ictovian, that he's going to take his soul. So we find out that the setup with Lysine and potentially Dujek, or the host, is essentially through a conversation between Whiskey Jack and Corlat, essentially to get risk of the threat that is Whiskey Jack. I mean, there is talk of him how he would have been supported if he wanted to take over the throne of the Empire, so potentially he is a threat to Lysine. He is one hell of a soldier. I have to say, this book is also irreverently full of compassion. We have a scene now where we have Col and we have Murillo, and they are looking after Mabe, and she's having still these nightmares. And they have a conversation whilst they're sort of wiping her brow and feeling really, really bad for her and listening to her wails in her dreams. They decide that they're going to secretly take her to Capistan and ask the priests for help. And they actually say, between the pair of them, and it's a lovely back and forth of dialogue, they say that no matter the cost, they're going to do this. Mabe needs to be saved, and in their eyes there's no two ways about it. They'll either save her or they'll get her to a place where she can pass in peace. So that's their mission now. That's what they're intending to do. There's also mention of Ralik Nom. Col actually mentions that he doesn't think Ralik Nom is dead. He apparently just knows that he's not dead, so what to make of that, I don't know. But apparently Ralik Nom is not dead. Then we go to Mabe in her dream, and she's actually, the way I interpret it, and the clue's kind of given, is that she's talking to Tok. Now we know Tok is with the matron and also with the seer. He's kind of held captive. So my thoughts are, Tok must then be this wolf god, this Tog. I can't remember the full name, but it's Tog, Lord of Winter. This must be who Tok is kind of spirit friends with, or however you want to word it. Possessed by. I don't know. I don't know what the terminology is, but I think that's who Tok can see through and smell through, is Tog, Lord of Winter, because Baljag must be then the female, the partner. Phaedron, it begins with an F, the name. That's who Baljag must be, because she is female and she seems to be going after Tok. So, you know, common sense tells me to go towards the realms of, well then, Baljag is the female wolf, and Tok is encompassed in spirit by the male wolf god, which is Tog. So they were partners, and because of the crippled god falling to the world, they got split. They got separated, and have ever since been trying to find each other again. And that's kind of what this chapter is about, is this essence of these two gods trying to find each other again, and how they are way, 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 way more historical than even the elder gods. They predate the elder gods, so we've got that going on. But in the meantime, Tok's been moved to... So we go to chapter 20 then. That was the ending of chapter 19, is how it seems that Mabe and Tok are in communication. Tok thinks that Mabe, as he's hearing her, is the seer, and it's all just a kind of a pretense, and, you know, it's another game that the seer's playing. And Mabe believes that this is the voice of someone or something to a safe place where hopefully she's going to die. But obviously they've both got the wires crossed. And Tok is actually hearing Mabe, and Mabe is hearing Tok. So I assume that then means something for the future. I assume that somehow they're going to help each other, or Tok's going to help Mabe. That's the guess I'm making from there. Chapter 20. Tok's being moved to Coral, and unfortunately he's in this state where, because the matron keeps squeezing him and breaking his bones, all his bones have realigned a mess. They've not realigned straight, and he's got fluid in his lungs. He's just an absolute wreck. But they're moving him to this unreachable place because of the winds and the mountains of ice in the sea. The seer has tried to make it as impossible for anybody to get to them as they could. And Tok, in his inner monologue, is giving forgiveness to Lady Enver, to say, you can stop your hunt for me, because I understand that to travel here would be too hard. So I forgive you for if you can't get to me. Even though it hurts him to say that, he's basically saying, I forgive you if you can't get to me. Obviously what he doesn't realise is that doesn't seem to be the case. It seems to be the case that she wants to still go after him. I think Lady Envy has got serious crush balls on Tok, so she's going to keep going. And plus Baljag, with the entity that lives inside of Tok, she's not giving up either. So female force. If we want something, we're going to get it. Back to Itkovian. So I'm going to have to say that now, because otherwise going to keep saying it wrong. Back with Itkovian in Kapistan, and they are starting to clean up the streets from the battle. A few members of the masked council have gone on to meet Whiskey Jack, Dujek, and all those guys, and there's a feeling within Gruntle and Stoner that there's something a little bit untoward about this, that they're trying to get a preemptive strike on those guys to tell them something that they potentially don't want anybody else to hear, or at least try and wield them and mould them into some kind of train of thought that benefits them. So Gruntle, Stoner, and Itkovian all jump on horses and catch up. They're determined to catch up so that they're not missing any information from these talks. So eventually they catch up. We then go to Picker, who is just sitting on the steps of the thrall, minding her own business, after she's been moving some rocks and whatnot, because obviously they're doing a clean-up campaign. And Blend, as she does, because I love Blend, she just pops up from nowhere, hence the name Blend, because she blends in. She just pops up from nowhere, and I love this dynamic duo. I think they're great. I think the back and forth between these two is great. The way Picker is just always sort of, where have you come from again? Where were you? How have you ended up here? It's so good. And Blend's all like, you know me, you know what I'm like. So she's been listening. She's been going around the place in the shadows, listening to conversations. She's heard that there is tell of a potential heir to Kapistan. And they have gone off with talks with Spindle and Ditoran, who are not the ideal people. And when Quick Ben and Parran come over and join Picker, she's relaying this information, and Parran's sort of saying, why them? Why them guys? Go over there and tell them to wait, and we'll have this conversation. And Picker's also found out from Blend about the Teniscowra outside the walls. And it kind of makes sense to her in the ideas of, another army to gain more people, that the people of Kapistan would help the Teniscowra for that reason. So that makes sense. And then once all that is over and done with, this little scene I had to mention because I love this little bit, where the necromancers approach Picker and, in essence, demand water and food for their journey. They don't ask nicely, they don't say please, they don't say could you possibly. They just say, we require water and food, lots of it, for our journey. So Picker goes, oh, is that right? Not sure who she goes over to, but she goes over to one of them and just shoves him off the horse. He goes flying. Blend comes from nowhere, hits the other one on the back of the head with the butt of the sword. So them two are now out cold. And then Reese comes over and he's like, oh, because Reese does, he panics. And he's like, run, go now, go, before they wake up. So I just had to mention that because it's a funny scene. The duos in this, the little team ups that Stephen Erickson's decided to do in this are so funny. He's put so much humour into them that it just lightens all what's going on in the book. So Perrin, Quick Ben, they ride to meet the others. So we've got Whiskey Jack, Dujek, Brood. We've now got the certain members of the Master Council. There's quite a lot of people there. And Perrin and Quick Ben have met up with them. And Silver Fox also comes up with Croupe. But Perrin is sensing a huge change in Silver Fox. He's not really sensing Tattersail anymore. He's sensing more the Night Chill or this Bonecaster kind of energy to her. And my question with this is like, oh no, are we now losing Tattersail to Night Chill? Is Night Chill now taking control? Therefore, then, does that mean that there's no chance of Perrin and Tattersail getting back together again? Is that done now? Does Perrin now have to literally move on, and that's over with? Because that's quite sad. I wasn't expecting that, and I'm hoping that's not the case. I like the idea of Perrin and Tattersail, so I don't kind of, he's kind of gone through this entire story so far of still not giving up on her, so I don't kind of want that to be the case, but I don't know. And I think also that this, sometimes Silver Fox is coming across as slightly schizophrenic with the way she's sort of jumping in and out of these characters. It's a bit, it's an odd one, isn't it? She's kind of unpredictable as to who and what she's going to be. So that's just a little thing that Perrin was picking up on, and Quick Ben, to be honest, of how Silver Fox is not seeming to still be Tattersail. So we've got Ictcovian still being recognised as a grey sword. Now I wrote this down because I found this also a very touching and very sweet moment. So Ictcovian is approaching this parley, this new parley that's happening. And as he does, he is talking to one of the Marines of the Bridge Burners, and he's still being recognised as a soldier. Ictcovian isn't seeing himself as a soldier anymore. He feels some element of shame in himself, but he's still actually being acknowledged as the grey sword and the shield anvil. Even though he's saying he's not anymore and he's passed it over to the girl, he's still being recognised as that for what he did in this battle. But he doesn't think that he did anything. He doesn't think that he deserves it. And I find that quite sad. And even when he gets to the parley, he sort of goes round the back and tries to be discreet and not seen, but Brood sees him and welcomes him as the shield anvil, and he's still not, he's still trying to hide away from it. So I do feel quite sorry for him in that context. I don't know. I just think he does deserve it, so he should not necessarily, push it away. So all these main heads are having a parley. Rathburn confronts Brood, and she is having a pop at him about not releasing Burn from her chains. So she says, I could wield that hammer better than you, being the essence of Burn. So he says, go on then, there's the hammer, take it. And as she takes it off him, she can't wield it, so she instantly drops it and breaks her arms. It's slightly funny, I have to admit. It is slightly well, that's what you get, isn't it? But there's also this guilt that Brood then feels. So they send for a healer, but once the healer shows up, Brood actually decides to heal her. And what Carol notices is that there doesn't seem to be a problem with Brood tapping into his warren. That seems to be fine. What we also learn in this moment, we learn quite a few things in this chapter. We learn that Carula, at this moment in time, is actually Carol. Carol is actually the one talking and watching. It seems that Carula may have taken a back step, similar to when Gruntle was overtaken by Treach. It seems the same thing's happening with Carula, and Carol has come forward in this talks and this parley. So the issue with the warren is noticed. So my question to that is, have Talamandus and Quick Ben jumping in and out of these warrens as they were doing just to test them out, have they healed something? Has what they've done healed something? Or is this something to do with Perrin and how there's only memories of spirits in Hood? And Perrin, in a sense, has healed this poison. I'm curious. Something's got to have happened somewhere for the Warrens to sort of be okay. Because the crippled god's still there, still eking the life force, so to speak, out of Byrne. So something's got to have changed the dynamic. Is it Talamandus and Quick Ben? Or is it Perrin and his blessings? Not sure. Continue. So as I say, Perrin and Quick Ben have realised that there's something not quite right with Silver Fox, and she is definitely Nightchill right now. It's Covian tells them that all three residing in Silver Fox are actually in agreement. There's no war, there's no fighting going on. They're actually all in agreement with the current setup of Nightchill kind of being in charge, which obviously comes as a bit of a surprise to Quick Ben and Perrin, but that's how it is. But Covian also notices something about Croupe, some sort of higher purpose. It says, for this strange little Daru man. I love how they always refer to him like that. Even Carol, it's Covian notices, has sort of a regard for Croupe. Sort of it comes across as like a prodigy of sorts to it's Covian. And like he's maybe potentially going to overwhelm his master. But I don't think as yet we know potentially who Croupe's master is. So this is all getting a bit interesting. Now we're getting a little bit more information about potentially who Croupe. We know he's the L, but there's more to him than that, isn't there? Same as Quick Ben, there's just more to these characters. Then at the end of this, what I've wrote down, there is another bit to go, but after this parley, the women all seem to come together. So there's a meeting of the New Shield Anvil and Silver Fox and the Hetan, and there's another woman there, and they're all having this chit chat amongst themselves as women and saying how much better it is for the women and easier for women to handle the situations. But the New Shield Anvil makes a request to Silver Fox, calling her Bonecaster, saying that she really does need to release the Talanai, the hounds, the wolves, because of these gods that are being sensed now, such as Baljag and the one that resides within Tok, which is Tog. They are being sensed, the presence of them being sensed, and if Silver Fox doesn't release the Talanai, it seems as though she's going to pay a very, very dear price, a very, very expensive price, potentially get herself killed. Silver Fox doesn't feel much pressure, much threat from this, and this Shield Anvil is trying to tell her, I don't think you seem to be getting the grasp of what I'm saying to you. You know, you're putting yourself at risk. I think maybe, I have a sneaky suspicion that maybe Silver Fox is hanging on to the Talanai for her mum. I'm not quite sure. I just don't see any other reason at the moment why Silver Fox would be hanging on to the Talanai. The Tilani Mass, okay, so she feels like she's got family. But the Talanai, I'm not sure. So I'm not sure about that one. And then we go back to the end of chapter 20, to Lady Envy and her crew. And as I say, they're on the trail of Tok. They've got to Coral, but the waters ahead are not easy to pass. And Gareth, the Hound of Shadow Dog, is dying from the poison that Lady Envy unleashed. So he needs to be healed. So Mock, one of the Segulae, has a bit of a pop at Lady Envy and basically tells her, do it, heal him, do it now. It's your fault, get it done. So she does, and then Gareth kind of turns on her a little bit. So, I mean, he turns on her because she did it, what do you expect? And then Baljag, this floating kind of little town, little village appears, and Baljag is working it out and sniffing at it, and she just goes running off, and she makes her way onto it. Gareth then follows, and then eventually the Segulae and Lady Envy are all on this little floating town village type thing. And one of the Segulé makes comment that this particular floating island used to come and visit them, kind of trying to take advantage of them, but it did used to come visiting them. So they jump on this because it's headed north to where they need to be to get to Tok. So as they jump on, they all seem to go the separate ways. The two dogs kind of go that way, and the Segulé go house to house searching. And Lady Envy decides to join the animals. And when she gets there, there is a Talanimas who is impaled by 3 iron swords. So she has a conversation with this Talanimas to find out, you know, what's happened basically. And the Talanimas explains that she actually was on her way to the second gathering with Silver Fox and the rest to speak of her clan and the other clan that she was asked to report back on. That these two clans that she's a part of are in this war currently, and to say how many they've got left, etc. And so Lady Envy says, oh, okay, so, you know, what were you going to report back? What were you going to say? And who are you? So she says, I am Lannis Tog, and she is of the Calum Talanimas. And she was also to report on the Ifail Talanimas. And sadly, what she's got to report back is that she is the last remaining Calum Talanimas, and there is no Ilfay left. And then she explains a little more and says that, well, Lady Envy says that sounds like a foe of some stature. And she says, yeah, where was the battle? And she says, in a sail. And sadly, we lost 29,814 Calum. That's a lot of people. And 22,200 Ilfay. And this was over. This has been over a battle of 8 months. So this battle has been going on for 8 months, and that's how many they've lost. They've lost just short of 50,000 people. And she's saying we lost the war. So then Lady Envy stops for a minute and is thinking about this, and she turns around and says, well, that is a jag-hurt tyrant indeed to have to face. And it ends with Lannis Tog saying, not jag-hurt tyrant, this is human. I'm sorry? Human? Right, is anybody at this present moment in Malazan human? Is Whiskey Jack human? When they say mortal, is Whiskey Jack human? So we're talking like somebody like Whiskey Jack. How on earth, when you're talking about the undead, the living dead, the Jaghurt, the Barghast, how on earth could a human get the better of these species, these people? How? That makes no sense to me, unless they're an extremely skilled warrior. But even so, she says human, not humans. Potentially she means humans, but she says human. I don't know. That shocked me, that one. So now we're on to book 4, Actual Memories of Ice. So we're coming close to the end. Whether I'll get this done today, I don't know. I may get it finished reading wise. Whether I'll be able to vlog about it, I don't know. But we're going to crack on, and I'll be back with you guys soon. I've been at this since 6 o'clock this morning. 6 o'clock. That shows how much of a trooper I am. I got up at 6 and I thought, I will finish this book for my watchers. So it's now 11 a.m. and I'm going to crack on, and I will see you in the next one. Hello, we're back again with chapter 21. It is almost 10 to 3. Yep, almost 10 to 3. There's not really a great deal going on in chapter 1 except for one particular section. So I'll briefly go over things until we get to that section, because that section is... So, briefly cover things. So, Silver Fox and Paran, they have a bit of an argument in regards to Mabe, Silver Fox's mum. Cole and Murillo, as we know, have taken her. They've not kidnapped her, but they've decided that because of these nightmares and the fact that she's very unsettled and she doesn't seem to be necessarily waking up anymore, that they're going to take her to see someone like the priests in Kapistan, something like that. And it doesn't matter the cost. They're not bothered about the cost. They just want her to be right, or at least put to rest safely, something like that. But now Silver Fox has noticed that her mum is gone, she's approached Paran and said, does he know anything? Obviously, he doesn't know anything. But he does have the opinion of, well, if you'd have spent more time with your mum, then maybe this wouldn't have happened. That's kind of his attitude. And Silver Fox is like, I've stayed away for a reason. That's the one thing you don't seem to be getting, is I've stayed away for a purpose. So there seems to be cross communication going on here with Paran and Silver Fox. She's not saying anything. He's kind of giving her a bit of a telling off for what she's doing. It's not planning out too well, and there definitely doesn't seem to be much of a relationship between them two anymore. It seems like Silver Fox is saying there's something still there, but Paran's kind of, I don't like who you've become, so I can't really do this anymore. That's the gist I'm kind of getting. Ictovian's come across an artist called O'Mulligan, which is quite a cool name. Quite like that name. O'Mulligan of Lee Heng, and he has his little critic, as he's referred to, called Gumble the Toad. But he's the historian. O'Mulligan is an historian. He's keeping tabs of what's happening in this war, as they do, which happened in Deadhouse Gates. But he's doing it in an art history way of painting. Then we have Whiskey Jack and Ictovian talk to Silver Fox about her disappearing. They're talking about Silver Fox, to the two guards that are meant to be keeping a watch on Silver Fox, and they've in essence followed her but lost her. It seems she's gone through a hill and they weren't able to follow, so she's probably found a portal, gone through it, and they're not able to follow. So obviously there's concerns as to why she's gone away, why she's done that. But in this section, what stood out to me was Whiskey Jack giving Ictovian the gauntlet handshake as a soldier, trying to say to Ictovian that you are still, in our opinion, a soldier, and you'll never not be. And he also asks him, are all Ellen like you? Because, as we know, Ictovian is Ellen. And he says, well, I'm not unique. But Whiskey Jack just sort of... And then he kind of warns him about the Empress and her getting into Ellen. And Ictovian only hopes that Whiskey Jack will be there if and when the time comes. But Whiskey Jack just kind of smiles. Because I think, as we know, Whiskey Jack is done now. He's done, and he doesn't want any more war or any more battles. There's also a little bit between Croupe and Quick Ben, and it seems that Croupe has some sort of instinct and knowledge about Talamandus. He seems to be aware that there's something on Quick Ben's shoulder. Then we go back to Col and Murillo, and they're sneaking through Capistan, and then they get attacked by one of the necromancers. I think Brooch, because he's, as we know, kind of the serial killer. So they get attacked by Brooch, but then this person shows up, who's referred to himself, I think, or Brooch refers to him as the Knight of Death. He's like Hood's soldier. He's the Knight of Death, and he protects Col and Murillo. And what he's there for is to take Mabe and them two back to Hood's Gate to keep them safe there. That's where they're now going to reside. So that's where they basically go. But what we find out is that the Knight of Death doesn't seem to know his name. He doesn't seem to remember his memories. And also he asked the question, am I dead then? Which I found quite touching. And Cole says, well, you're with Hood, so I presume so. And that's quite a little bit sad in that character, just finding out, like, yeah, you're dead, and, you know, that's kind of the situation. Then we go back to Ictovian on a barge with Gruntle and Stoner, and they're having a conversation about the advances that they're about to make, and how Ictovian believes that the other group will potentially only face one attack, but what he thinks is that they'll do more marching than anything, unless there are other issues to justify the division of the forces, because everybody's been separated. So Brood and so on have gone that way, and Whiskey Jack have gone that way, and Gruntle and Stoner and Ictovian have gone that way. So they've all kind of split up. After that, then Picker gets promoted from Paran. She gets promoted to lieutenant, but Paran then gives her an order and a warning within this promotion, and tells her, do not allow the bridge burners to split up. Do not do that. They have to stay together. The bridge burners have to stay together. So that invokes a question. What's behind what Captain Paran has actually ordered her to do? What's the reasoning behind that? I'm not too sure yet. Maybe it's to do with the forces that they're going to come up against, and unless they're a unit, then they don't stand a chance. Maybe it's that kind of aspect to it. And then we get to the good bit of chapter 21. What's Quick Ben up to? People, what is Quick Ben up to? So, Whiskey, Jack and Dujek are talking of losing Quick Ben. They're talking about how they could potentially lose him. And keeping Brood, etc., in the dark about what's going on, their plans. So, Brood, Rake, the Tistandi and the Elder Gods, who were meant to step in the path of the crippled god, well, that's not the case. That's not what Dujek and Whiskey Jack, along with Empress Laseen, have planned. They've planned, and Paran and Quick Ben are now going to face the crippled god. Presumably because Paran is master of the deck. But why Quick Ben? Yes, we know he's kind of a more powerful mage than what he appears to be. And I do think there's something underlying with Quick Ben, but why just those two when we've got so many other people with so much other kind of warrants about them? Why those two? Why not everyone? So that's quite concerning, I would say. It's putting Paran and Quick Ben in the line of fire. But I presume their skills and what have you, what they've come to be now, is more than enough to face. There's also talk of how Laseen has inverted the command. So, well, she's inverted the command structure for a reason. So the right people are at ground level when Shadow Throne and Cotillion make their move. Okay. So what I take from that is that she wants, rather than Whiskey Jack to be in charge, she wants Whiskey Jack on the ground because he's better as a soldier than he is a commander. I mean, he's still a commander, but he's better as a soldier than as a commander. But what's a Shadow Throne and Cotillion making an appearance for? Why are they coming? Is it to do with House of Shadows? Is this all to do with the deck of cards? Is this all something to do with Paran? And is he going to use the deck of cards as something with fighting the crippled god? And then also, why did Quick Ben send Callum after the Empress? Well, we know in Dead House Gates that Callum has a conversation with the Empress. There's I think it's a corpse that's in the room, if memory serves me right. So he's not directly speaking to the Empress. He's speaking to the Empress's sort of throne voice. She's somewhere else, and she knew full well that Callum was coming. And Callum was initially in Dead House Gates going there with the intention to kill her. But then having talked to her and having that conversation, he walks away and leaves her. Don't remember the exact conversation now, but I do remember that being the case. Yes, there was some, I think it was a corpse that was in the room, just to give the idea that she was present. But it was actually Quick Ben who convinced him to do that. And it was for some reason as to Callum needing to be convinced in person that something to do with Laseen. Callum needed to see it for himself in order to be convinced. I don't know. I literally don't know. And then we also find out, maybe I missed this, I'm terrible, but maybe I missed this. Taishran was grooming Tattersail to become mistress of the deck. Well, that makes perfect sense, because she was very good with the cards, wasn't she? In the Gardens of the Moon, she was exceptional with the cards. She was the best card reader that they had. Sorry. She was the best card reader that they had. So it makes sense that Taishran was grooming her to become mistress of the deck. But what they're saying is that by spiritual deflection, because Paran was around her a lot, that's how it's landed on him to become master of the deck. Okay. But isn't he just mortal? So wouldn't it make sense really for it to have been a mage? So then, well, I suppose at the time there wasn't, but in the time when Tattersail and Nightchill and Ballerden, when that happened, it could have potentially passed to Ballerden. He was a mage. I don't know. So yeah, we find that out, and then I've actually put down here, okay, hold on, holy shit. So this big scheme started way back before Pale. Okay, then I put, okay, help me. These are my notes. Quick Ben clearly delivered something to Fiddler in Deadhouse Gates. What was it? Besides munitions, what was it? Because if there was something I forget, I absolutely forget what that was. So, guys, help me out. What did Quick Ben have delivered to Fiddler in Deadhouse Gates? I forget. But it's clearly important because it's being mentioned here. They mention about like the munitions, like the bombs or whatever it is, being sent by the guild. The guild are the ones that have sent this to Fiddler. But what else did Quick Ben send? I've clearly got no recollection of that. There must have been something. It's all going off in this one with regards to the lore. There's an awful lot of lore going on, and that sort of crossover in time again between Deadhouse Gates and Memories of Ice. So, yeah, it started before Pale, this plan between Lysine and Dujek and Taishran. And Taishran's apparently still involved. He's somewhere. Dujek knows exactly how to get hold of him. So he's still involved. So Lysine is still pulling the strings here with whatever's going on with regards to the bridge burners. Lysine is still pulling the strings. Surprising, I think. I did not think that was going to be the case, especially after Pale. But there you go. She clearly knows something, and she's clearly doing something. So then we go on to... Oh, and then there's a comment of Hedge and Fiddler being like brothers, and it's Hedge who Quick Ben talks to with regards to Fiddler and the circumstances, the mess that Fiddler's in. And then Croupe comes over, and Croupe smashes a small glass ball, which Barak has sent him, which reveals a bockerel. And this bockerel sounds so cute. It sounds so cute. It's got a grapefruit head and these big eyes, and it talks in sort of separated language, just saying, Barak, master. You know, it talks, it's so cute. It's like something out of Star Wars or, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy. That's the impression I get of it. And it sounds really cute. But then amongst this, Perrin gets called to one side by the new distraint of Capistan. And she informs him about them wanting to now take Anaster. And he's concerned that they're going to take out revenge on Anaster and potentially torture, that's the word, torture Anaster. She's kind of saying that that's not what they're going to do. They don't work like that. They're not going to do that. So Perrin then accidentally turns around absent-mindedly and says, he's yours, distraint, with my blessing. Perrin has to learn that he can't just say that nonchalantly, because him giving his blessing seems to absolve somebody of everything. Kind of what happened in Hood's Gate. All the souls have gone. There's just memories. There's no souls left. They've all been cleared. So Perrin needs to be really careful when he's saying, you can have my blessing, because then just the absolvement is ridiculous. It's just gone. So I think Anaster, well, he does. I've already read that Anaster is kind of just, there's nothing there now. What he was using as his life's force has gone. So he's not dead, but it's just a shell. He's just the shell of himself. Then we end up back with Tok. Now this is awful. This is awful. The state that Tok is in, he's been repeatedly tortured by this mother. She just, obviously, it's her interpretation of loving him. But because he's quite a substantial amount smaller than her, she keeps breaking his bones. but this spell that the seer has put on Tok keeps repairing them, but they're not repairing right. So he's all messed up now. His bones are not aligned right, and he's got fluid in his lungs, and he's an absolute mess. So the seer Domin is saying to who he calls the Holy One, can you not just leave Tok away from her? You know, find her someone else maybe, or just not send Tok back there. And the Holy One seer is not having none of it. He's clearly loving this torture thing. He's clearly enjoying it. Then he starts to kind of taunt Tok by saying, you know, you think your friends are going to be able to come for you? They're not going to get anywhere near you. We know where they are. We know what they're doing. We've put our things in place. They're not getting here. They're not getting near. Just really messing with Tok's mind and bringing him to such a point of mental and physical devastation that he's potentially not going to be even a third of the person that he was before he ended up there. So that's just really sad for that character who I've liked as soon as he was introduced. This is a really sad outcome, and I'm not enjoying the way things are going for Tok. But hopefully, as it seems, Lady Envy is still trying to make her way to Tok. She seems to be still, you know, on the mission to get there, which is good. Hopefully, because she's quite powerful, let's face it. And these can't remember how you say it. Celigay, they're quite strong as well. They're quite good fighters. Toll is thereabouts. You know, he's not with them, but he's there following them in his own sort of realm. And then she's still got Baljag and Garath, who are the dogs who can go with her. She's also got this new character who she's met, Tog, from the floating village type thing. Whether she'll be able to help the Tilanimas, whether she's going to be able to help them or not, I don't know, because for some reason she's not been freed from the sword that she's stuck on, which I don't understand. I don't understand why she's being left like that, but she is, and that's, I don't know, they've probably got the reasons. Then we find Crone. Crone has done her investigating and she's come back. And at this moment in time, she's trying desperately to warn Brood and Calor and Corla that things are not right. They're walking into what seems to be a trap. She's desperately trying. And then she's begging, like, where's Moonspawn? Where is it? I can't find it. Where is it? She's really panicking. And for Crone to be panicking, it must raise a flag. But they're all just brushing her off like it's not a big deal. You know, it'll be what it will be. And there's a little funny bit where we come across Rhys and Gruntle and Ictovian. And Rhys can't talk. It was just a humorous little bit that I thought I'd mention. You know, he's talking like this because he's apparently bit on an olive pip and he's cracked a tooth and he can't really talk properly. And Beauchelane calls for Brooch to come out and perform surgery on him. And Rhys is like, you know, he doesn't want that to happen. And Gruntle and, you know, Ictovian walk away, and Ictovian thinks he's done a good deed, and Gruntle's kind of laughing, saying, you know, you really, in the future, may think better of that, like, you know, offering him that kind of help. And he's like, why? I just want, yeah, you know, the cure may be worse than the actual pain that he was in, so you may want to think twice about doing that in the future. And then we get to the end of chapter 22, sorry. This is chapter 22. I've started on, silly me. That's the start of chapter 22 with Tok and the mother and the seer torturing him. And then we've got to this part where the Night of Death has prepared. They've got to Hud's Gate, and the Night of Death has prepared this chamber for Mabe to sleep in. It turns out that Cole goes to look at it and says, you've made her a sarcophagus. He's literally dug a hole, what it sounds like, in the ground. And then Murillo comes running in, and they're both in shock because it looks like they're going to bury her. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe it kind of makes sense. I don't know. You know, it ends with her having this dream. She's trapped again in her dream state. And she dreams of being in this body with pustules, and she can see the ribs and the scars and the calcifications and porous nodes. It's wrote down as, and cracks and twisted twists and fissures, or fissures. I don't know how you say it. And then between each bone, the skin was stretched, enclosing whatever lay within. Blood vessels spanned. So she's stuck in this, and then she's asking the question: "Is this me? Is this me?" And then it changes, and the ribs become legs, and then the skin becomes a web. Now that I'm kind of lost on. That. So we're talking about a spider, I'm presuming. Okay, what's that got to do with anything? Unless I've completely missed that. I'm kind of don't understand the spider. Don't understand that. Unless it's kind of a... what's the word? Kind of an interpretation of like how you would wind a fly in a web to imprison it, like a caterpillar would go into its chrysalis to become a butterfly. Unless it kind of means that sort of thing, where she's going to go into this hole now for her to maybe come out well and okay and back to her normal self. I don't know. I'm completely lost with that one. Yeah, that one. I may need to see if I can... I've actually read it twice, and I'm still lost. So maybe you guys know, maybe you can help me out in the comments as to... well, you've clearly read it, but I just don't see where the ribs turning into legs and the skin not being skin and it becoming a web. And then it says, and she was sliding. Yeah, I'm lost with that. I'm lost. So, at the end of the day, we've got to chapter 23. There's only 25 chapters left, so we're nearly done with this one, guys. And it is, what date are we on? The 10th of May. So we've still got another 20 days to go. Wonder how far we can get. We'll definitely get through House of Chains, I think. I wonder if we'll get to Midnight Tides. Anywho, that's enough from me for today. We've got to get this edited and uploaded. So I hope you guys have had a fantastic day. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you have, please do me a solid. Please like the video. If you've been to this channel before and you like what you see, why not subscribe? Just give that button a dink, just the once, and then you will be informed at whatever videos I post. I do post other different, types of content, book hauls, reviews. I may throw in a few oddballs here and there every now and again, but I'm here for your pleasure, and that's the idea of these videos. So on the back of that, I will crack on with editing this, or I may pass it on to editor-in-chief Jocelyn, and she can do it. But yeah, that's it for me today. Thank you very much, everyone. I much appreciate all your support. I always do. And I will see you all in the next one. Okay? Oh, and it's Friday, isn't it? So if I don't post anything at the weekend, have yourselves a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Okay? Bye-bye. Hey guys. Thanks so much for watching this video. We'll link somewhere here another video for you to watch. If you fancy that, please click on that. And as usual, thank you for all your support. Till next time. Bye-bye.